Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Namune, Karuna Sarvaya, Radha Krishna Krsna.
Paramahamsa Namune, Karuna Sarvaya, Radha Krishna Krsna.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Namune, Karuna Sarvaya, Madana Mohana,
Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna, Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Mohana,
Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol,
Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Haribol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Haribol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Jaya Jaya Gurudev,
Haribol Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Gauranga,
Haribol Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Gurudev,
Haribol Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev,
Jaya Jaya Krishna Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Krishna Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev,
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestaya Te.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestaya Te.
Haribol, Haribol Krishna.
Bol Gurudev.
Haribol. Good morning, everyone. So let's continue our study program. So I'd like to read here the process that we are applying in our lives to be close and to do the will of the Supreme Person, to be sheltered by His love and compassion, to be able to receive and embrace in our heart the love that is being given to us by Lord Krsna through our spiritual master. So I'd like to tell you a story of the attitude of the real Vaishnava, or the real devotee, who is in the world of transcendental relationship with the Supreme Person. Now it's connected with what we should be desiring, longing, and the process is given. The 9 process of devotional service, it is a scientific process that will purify our heart, our misgiving, and be able to enter the world of love. And we can experience this world of relationship that is eternal and pure when we follow the process of hearing and chanting and embracing the holy names of the Supreme Person, the Supreme Purifier. Not only that, the guidance of Lord Chaitanya. One can chant the holy names of the Lord in a humble state of mind, feeling himself lower than the straw in the street, more tolerant than the tree, and devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. So this state of consciousness focus one's heart, one's life in simply doing the will of the Supreme Person. This third prayer of Lord Chaitanya. And when one chants the holy names, the Maha Mantra, the deliverance that will deliver us and let us enter into that world of devotional service, coupled with this prayer and understanding, then we are very secured in our direction, in our endeavor to do the will of the Supreme Person. So there's this Pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya, Madhavendra Puri. He has many disciples, and one of his disciples is Isvara Puri, who is the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. At the time, Madhavendra Puri is leaving this world. So he is praying related to the Supreme Person. In that narrative, in that story, in that narration of his pastimes, the pastimes of the spiritual master, he's praying that his life is useless because he's not able to love the Supreme Person. And in that mood of loving separation, which can only be appreciated and understood by someone whose senses are purified through the process of pure devotional service, the hearing, the chanting, remembering, offering prayers. Not only that, through the mercy and guidance of the loving servant of the Supreme Person. So there's this disciple who's there, and when he saw his spiritual master crying in tears, in loving separation, he's not able to see and appreciate that mood. And he comes and tells the spiritual master, do not lament, your spirit soul, your spirit soul. And Madhavendra Puri said, now I am doomed, that when I am passing away, I am seeing the face of this impersonalist rascal. The spiritual master is not what we think, that he is the dominator of his disciples, or he just wants to project something, to tell us, to control us. It's not like that. The desire of the Supreme Person, he loves us so much, and the spiritual master, who is a confidential loving servant of the Supreme Person, sees the transcendental sadness of the Supreme Person, that most of his children in this material world are separated from him, from experiencing this devotional loving service, and are suffering, wandering in this universe. So the spiritual master comes to this world to appease the transcendental sorrow of Lord Krishna, so we can understand and be directed in our true eternal function, Sanatan Dharma, to be able to experience love for God. So the spiritual master comes, teach us how to be in that world of pure love of God. So the living entity, all of us here, we're traveling in this universe. Now on planet Earth, in this material machine, this body. So when we speak of compassion, it's not just the human beings who are the spirit, soul in human beings. The spiritual master, love can only be appreciated when we are experiencing the third prayer of Lord Chaitanya. This humbleness. So I'll read to you here how we can be in that world and appreciate that, yes, I can be in the state of pleasing Lord Krishna and pleasing and loving His confidential loving servant. Lord Krishna tells us, by my causeless mercy, be enlightened in truth about my personality, manifestation, qualities, and pastimes. By the mercy of Lord Krishna, one comes in contact with this pure, loving, confidential servant. The pure, loving servant who is a confidential friend, a resident of the spiritual world. The maid servant of Radha and Krishna, the pleasure potency of Lord Krishna, whose life is simply giving pleasure to the Supreme Person with their affection and transcendental love. The transcendental forms of the Lord are a mystery, and the symptoms of these forms, which are absolutely different from anything made of mundane elements, are also mysterious. The innumerable forms of the Lord, such as Shama Sundar, Narayan, Rama, and Gursundar, the colors of this form, white, red, yellow, cloud-like, Shama, and others, his qualities are the responsive personality of Godhead to the pure devotees, and as impersonal Brahman to the dry speculator. His uncommon activities, like lifting Govardhan Hill, marrying more than 16,000 queens of Dwarka, and entering the rasa dance with the damsel of Braja, when Lord Krishna saved the 16,000 princesses. He married them all, he expanded himself. And when Narada Muni came to visit him in these 16,000 palaces, kingdoms, he saw the Supreme Person in different activities in relating with all his confidential loving servant. And that we will be discussing and reading and knowing when after sometimes when we have time. The queens of Dwarka and entering the rasa dance with the damsels of Braja, expanding himself as the many forms of as there were damsel in the dance. These and innumerable other uncommon activities and attributes are all mysteries. One aspect which is presented in the scientific knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, which is read and adored all over the world by all classes of scholars, with as many interpretations as there are empiric philosophers. The truth of these mysteries was revealed to Brahma by the descending process, without the help of the ascending one. His mercy descends to a devotee like Brahma, and through Brahma to Narada, and Narada to Vyasa, from Vyasadev to Sukadev, and so on in the bona fide chain of disciplic succession. We cannot discover the mysteries of the Lord by our mundane endeavors. They are also revealed by His grace to the proper devotees. They are revealed only by His grace to the proper devotees. These mysteries are gradually disclosed to the various grades of devotees in proportion to the gradual development of their service attitude. In other words, the impersonalists who depend upon the strength of their poor fund of knowledge and morbid speculation habits without submission and service in the form of hearing, chanting, and other mentioned above cannot penetrate to the mysterious region of transcendence, where the supreme truth is a transcendental person, free from all tinges of material elements. Discovering the mystery of the Lord eliminates the impersonal picture realized by the common spiritualists who are merely trying to enter the spiritual region from the mundane platform. So the revelation, God Himself reveals Himself to those who are constantly devoted to Him. And how can we be devoted to the Supreme Person? How can He be embraced by us? It begins with the instruction of Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. One must search out a bona fide spiritual master, surrender unto him, render loving service in submission. Listen to him. Follow him. Then you're following me, you're doing my will. So to enter the world of loving service, we must learn it from someone who loves the Supreme Person. So the spiritual master comes to this world, and during the time of Lord Chaitanya, 500 years ago, his entourage came. Lord Nityananda, who is Lord Balaram, who gives us spiritual strength, comes and canvas everyone to chant the holy names. He's not forcing anyone. He simply goes out under the instruction of Lord Chaitanya and canvas living entities who would want to be in a world of devotional service. They do their tasks, just like our spiritual master who comes to this world amongst our presence. In our presence, we see our spiritual master. How to enter his world? It is through the purified senses, free from material consideration, the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Their world is a world of love and compassion. They come to teach us to love God. They're feeling this humbleness in their heart. Not only that, they don't force anyone. They simply go around traveling, chanting the glories of the Supreme Person. They're compared to the sun that gives light, that gives warmth to the heart. When one follows the process that they are giving us, the chanting of the holy names, the descending method that is being given to us, God Himself coming to us through the lips of the confidential friend of Lord Krsna, that enters our ear, purifies our heart, gives warmth to our heart, an empty desert heart, to our lips that is parched like a desert. They give us this relief, this oasis of water that fulfills the heart. So we can check in ourselves if we're making progress towards that word of love. We're able to appreciate the compassion, the kindness, the perseverance, the austerities and sacrifice that someone who loves the Supreme Person comes here amongst our midst and invites us to love the Supreme Person. So when we follow the purificatory process of the chanting of the holy names, we can enter that world. We can appreciate how much we are loved. And not only that, we're able to receive that love. To come in contact with the instructing spiritual master, who passes on this transcendental science, and through the initiating spiritual master that we're very fortunate to come in contact, who gives us the opportunity to render devotional service. And what is devotional service? It begins with chanting the holy names. Chanting the holy names of the Supreme Person is devotional service. It will purify our heart, our mind, our whole being. And we enter that world wherein we are able to see how our shortcomings, how far we are that we fall far short. But even though we fall far short, that love is still there, unconditional. Lord Krsna is just waiting for us. And He gives us a process, a path that we follow. He opens that door. So we enter that door to be able to taste this experience that is eternal and transcendental, rendering loving service. We're able to appreciate the love of our spiritual master, who is a confidential loving servant of the Supreme Person. And we focus upon that world. And the revelation comes from God Himself. It's not through our own power. It is through the attitude of humbleness. When we come to the point of this prayerful mood of humbleness and submissively in meditation, actually praying, surrendering to God to protect us, He embraces us. And this is manifested now through our association with our eternal friend, our spiritual master, who is a confidential, loving servant of the Supreme Person, a resident of Vrindavan, the spiritual world. To be able to enter that world, we must follow the process that will purify us. We have become so arrogant. Our vision is so muddled. We are, due to conditioning of material disease, we cannot appreciate what is compassion. We cannot appreciate what is kindness. In this world, we are so angry that what manifests in our heart, what we do, is always an experience of retribution and anger. And even though we come in contact with the confidential, loving servant of God, our vision, our activities is still muddled until we become purified from this material misgiving of material contamination. And that comes when we have the pleasure of God. And the pleasure of God is when we are experiencing this humbleness. It's not something that we try to project externally. It is an internal meditation in our heart that my life belongs to you, my Lord. You are my protector. Without you, I have no life. Without following the instruction, the guidance, the embrace of my spiritual master, who is your confidential, loving servant, I have no life. If that is a world that of our meditation, then we are on the right track. But this false idea, thinking at the time we come in contact with the representative of God, we think we're entitled. I'm a devotee, Now, instead of doing and distributing that compassion, that deliverance, to connect the living entities, not just living entities in the human body, living entities. What happens is that what manifests, what resonates from our mouth, what resonates or what activities we do is completely a perverted reflection of the real transcendental truth. Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur went out and invited Jagad and Madai, who are demons, rascals, womanizer, killers, murderers, whenever people see them, people run because Jagad and Madai is here. They're coming. Will be put in harm's way because when they see Jagad and Madai, they're harmful. Because of their obnoxious, horrible, bizarre consciousness of giving pain to the living entities, whose happiness is projecting their anger. But what happened? Through coming in contact with Lord Nityananda, in the beginning they were chased. They asked, "My dear gentleman, please chant the holy names. Canvassing, please. There is, please. Chant the holy names." They were not presumptuous and sanctimonious of feeling holier, telling them, "You're demons, you're lowlife, you're gonna end in hell." No. By their humbleness, by their kindness, manifested in their personality, the pure love for God, manifested in their activities, in their life, changed the life of Jagad and Madai. When they threw this, one of the brothers threw this pot on the head of Lord Nityananda, playing the role of an ordinary person. His head was cut and blood was profusely coming out, and it reached Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya came in anger, holding his Sudarsana chakra. It's a wheel that cuts the demon's head, sharper than the switchblade. And when they saw the transcendental anger of Lord Chaitanya, and they feared that their life is now finished, they were so afraid. And Lord Nityananda stopped Lord Chaitanya. My dear Lord, please forgive them, save them. The reason we are here is to save the most fallen. And when they saw that attitude, that kindness, that compassion, it changed their heart. Because the holy names is not different from that compassion. So when we chant the holy names, it purifies our heart. We experience God's compassion. Just like we were brought in a Christian environment, the teachings of Lord Jesus Christ, if someone throws you a stone, throw him bread. If he slaps you, here, give the other cheek. It is, no, he's telling us, but we should not think na, okay, kill me. You can do whatever you want, you can exploit me. No, that's not the point. The point is experiencing this humility and compassion. And not only that, if we're in a world that is transcendental, we are protected from the onslaught of materialism, the influence of materialism, the three modes of material nature, the suffering in this world. Just like when we study the life of Prahlad Maharaj, that this demon father wants to kill him, but he's never touched. He's like the lotus flower in the midst of this mud, not touched by the impurities. He's not touched. And we wonder, how can we enter that world? Now, let's talk about ourselves. Let's see, in our life, we're given this opportunity to do the desire of the confidential loving servant of the Supreme Person who comes to this world and works so hard to alleviate the suffering of the living entities by giving them this happiness of being connected with pure loving devotional service manifested through his activities, his life's example, the words that comes out of his mouth. What is a devotee? It is exemplified by the confidential friend of Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita during the pastimes of Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago. Lord Krishna said to Arjuna and Duryodhana, I will not take part in this battle. I will be neutral. I'll just drive the chariot. I'll be just a charioteer. I will not take part. Now you choose between my army and me. And Duryodhana, seeing the vast army, the strong army of Lord Krishna, he chose the army. And Arjuna said, I choose you, my friend, my Lord. Why? Because he loves Krishna. So in the teachings of Christianity, we can understand also the teaching of the life and heart of Arjuna. What does a man profit? He gains the whole world and loses his soul, his life. So we can also understand that through the life of Bali Maharaj. When Lord Krsna, in the form of the Lord Vamana, asked him 3 steps of his kingdom. He's willing to lose everything just to be connected in loving devotion, to be sheltered by that meditation, his heart, his whole being, in pleasing the Supreme Person. So love of God is achievable. It is not a mystery. So we are given, especially the disciples, who are given the opportunity to come in contact with the instructing, initiating spiritual master, who is a confidential resident of the spiritual world of Vrindavan, who comes here. He gives us this opportunity to take part in the pastimes of Lord Nityananda, in that word of love. So we can check ourselves if we are now guided by that world of love, or are we still in this consciousness of thinking, presumptuously thinking, I'm a devotee. Look at all these non-devotees, karmis. And I put myself on the pedestal to now choose who will be coming in contact with the holy names in Krishna. So when the spiritual master who comes here in this planet out of his own volition because of his love for Krishna, to appease the transcendental sorrow of Lord Krishna because he's feeling so much love and compassion for us, suffering, separated from this sweetness of this joy of the pleasure of the Supreme Person of pure devotional service. Now we put ourselves presumptuously, sanctimoniously, I'm a devotee, I'll choose now who can be with Krishna. And we look around with our head high. And if someone who's traveling in this universe, who's feeling this time and space, who wants to see Srila Prabhupada or the Gurudev, are you qualified? I think not. You're not allowed. So we should see ourselves if we're making progress to that word. And not only that, we deny those who would want to relate and surrender to God, whose life in their heart, longing to be connected in service with the confidential loving servant of God. What do? We choose. We decide who will be with the spiritual master. That is completely not the purpose of our Gurudev coming to this world. Lord Nityananda comes to this world when he stopped Lord Chaitanya, my dear Lord. Our purpose is to save the most fallen. And the devotee who comes in contact, who everybody is a devotee, but thinking now, I'm pure, I'm advanced, How do I project what I think is compassion? Manifesting now as anger. Because for so long, I've been nurturing this anger in my heart and I become disconnected with this humbleness. And when I see someone trying to serve Lord Krishna to come in contact with that spiritual master, I become angry because they become an impediment with what I'm trying to project in my heart, the anger. I don't really care. What I care, I just don't want them, in a way, to get along with my will. And what is that will? Projecting the hardness in my heart. That is not the world of the spiritual master. That is manifested at the time Jesus Christ is being crucified. To enter the world of devotion and service is a mystery, but it is a revelation coming from God Himself when we follow this science, learn this science from someone who loves Him. So when Jesus Christ is being crucified, He prays, "My dear Lord, let this cup pass upon as you will. Into thy hands I commend my life." And not only that, He's feeling so much compassion and love for everyone because He's loving the Father. It is natural that if you love the Father, you'll be loving all the children. And He's feeling in His heart, through His expression, through His words, manifesting in prayer, in humbleness, in submission. "My dear Father, please kindly forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing." He still wanted them to have a change of heart, to be connected with that sweetness of loving devotion. But this so-called humility, which is a farce, which is completely contradictory to that world, when one feels higher, like a balloon, he thinks, looks down upon individuals. And what is projected now is the manifestation of lust. And what is that lust? It's manifested in anger. So if they cannot do what they want, they become angry. And they get along the way. "Why will you go to Krsna? You did not pass through me. You're not qualified." That is not a world of compassion. That is material consideration. So what is spiritual progress? Is it sitting on the pedestal? To be sitting down here and talking to you people? Thinking that I know more about Krsna? No, it's not that. It is the desire of the spiritual master in Krsna that glorify Him, talk about Him, remember Him. To those who are constantly devoted unto me, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So the hearing process itself purifying. So when we sit down, we glorify the Supreme Person. We're given this opportunity, this kindness, and we must appreciate it. We must see it the other way around. That it is an entitlement that I am chosen. I belong to this group. It's a holy place. I'm the son of a daughter of a very advanced, pure devotee. And what do they project? Every time the spiritual master speaks, they keep it. They become a wall. So individuals cannot come to Krsna. Why? Because they are not medium of that love. The impure cannot be the representative of the pure. Someone who is not loving God cannot represent God. How can you give something that you don't have? So, the lives of the devotees, the pure loving servant, especially the instructing spiritual master, and the initiating spiritual master is the manifestation of that love. And they're able to give the descending knowledge, to give us this love through their life's example. Because what resonates from their whole being is 100% loving, pure, devotional service to the Supreme Person. They are transcendental personalities, residents of the spiritual world. And that should be our gauge as practitioner of spiritual life. Do I have this humbleness? Am I feeling so great and high and mighty and I own? That is not the consciousness of the third prayer of Lord Chaitanya. One should chant the holy names of the Lord in a humble state of mind, feeling himself lower than the straw in the street, more tolerant than the tree, and devoid of all sense of false prestige. Not only that, I like to say something. The initiating spiritual master, he instructs someone who submissively offer his life to Krishna and be guided by him. So he gives him the instruction. He does not go around and chastise people. But these individuals who are not even our spiritual master do things that is completely contradictory to what the spiritual master is engaging in. The respect. His world is different from what we see to our imperfect senses. It must be received purely from God Himself. This mystery and revelation must come from God Himself. And to be able to do that, we must appreciate the kindness and love of someone who loves Krishna. Just like when Lord Jesus Christ tells His followers, those who want to follow Him, if you reject me, the Father who sent me will reject you. It's natural. If you love someone, that someone comes, gives him pain, kicks him, denies him, will you be appreciative of that person? No, definitely no. So we should be introspective. We should be seeing our imperfection. Our life should be like a sculptor, sculpturing, seeing what separates us from that world of pure devotional service. And we should not feel left out, because those who are contaminated, who are trying to hinder us from receiving Krishna and the holy names and put themselves in that world of pure devotional service, they're not there. You can never stop a person from surrendering to God. You can never be a block, because that love is transcendental to this material misgiving. Just like the love of Prahlad Maharaj and his surrender is not touched by this material misgiving. All the great Vaishnavas are like that. So we have now a choice. For so long, we have chosen the wrong choice. Now we're given this choice. Now it's up to us what we will choose. Follow this love that is descending, given to us in compassion, in love, or we want this control that is completely mundane and separated from this word of sweetness. It's a word of hardness. It's a word of envy. It's a word of anger. So we should be embracing this transcendental science and become free from the embrace of materialism that has covered us. Haribol Namaste.